Hello, we've all been to school before. An essential part of growing up is developing your own style and having your own personal sense of style develop over time. However, even though everyone is entitled to their own personal style, there are certain situations where we cannot fully express ourselves. And this is apparently um, apparent in schools. This is due to the fact that most schools have some kind of dress code in place. However, that brings up the question, are most school dress codes too strict? I'm sure you or somebody you know somebody who has been to school before, or maybe someone that's even been dress coded before. I personally believe that school dress codes should be revised, and I have proposed solutions for this. School dress codes are often vague, discriminatory, and biased against female students. I would like to discuss more about this topic. School dress codes can often be vague and often cause things such as misconceptions or understandings to come up. For example, students may not know what is and what is not against the dress code, and sometimes this can even lead to discrimination against students who are females and even minority groups, especially black girls. An example of a misunderstanding over a school dress code is the Tinker versus Des Moines Independent Community School Supreme Court case. In this, students at a junior high school sued their school as the students wore armbands to protest the Vietnam War. The students were then apprehended over the armbands that they wore to school and that they were suspended from the school. The students then pursued legal action against the school. According to the American Civil Liberties Union, the students were in the right. This is because the school dress code said nothing about the armbands, and there was nothing in the dress code that the armbands were against the school dress code. The Supreme Court actually sided with the students, and it was decided that they were allowed to wear the armbands to school because of their First Amendment rights, even though they were minors. And I personally feel like this could be applied to other things. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, 60% of public schools in the 2015-2016 school year had some kind of dress code in place. These dress codes are usually stricter on girls. As a person who is a female student, I have personally seen this firsthand. A good example of this is sleeveless shirts. For example, a female student may not be able to wear a sleeveless shirt to school, but then boys usually get away with wearing them and it could show like their arms or something, and many people bring this up to schools. School dress codes often lead to discrimination against students who are people of color, especially black girls. According to the National Women's Law Center, a study found that schools with a majority of black students had stricter dress codes than schools with a majority of white students. These students were more likely to be disciplined for their clothes and even their hair. There has been documented cases in the news where students are not allowed to have a school picture done, or maybe they were sent home because of their hairstyle or maybe a hair color. Now that I've established this topic, I'd like to discuss the possible solutions for it. There are many solutions to revising school dress codes, and this involves putting in place clear, fair rules that do not go against any previous laws or court cases, such as the Tinker versus Des Moines case. These rules should not interfere with the students' First Amendment rights, as students should feel safe in school, and the whole point of school is that the students should be able to focus. Also, if schools had fair rules in place and stuff like that, it would also be good for the schools because then nobody would sue the schools. These rules should be inclusive and considerate of students who come from various cultures, as we live in a multicultural world. By being more open-minded and having equal gender-neutral rules across the board, it would be fair to both males and females. Now, what would happen if school dress codes were revised? If there was more clear rules about school dress codes, then there would be less arguments over school dress codes, as students would know what they can and cannot wear to school. If there was an inclusive dress code, everyone would feel like they belonged at school, and less kids would be disciplined. This could also encourage some kids to stay in school because they would not be getting in trouble for their clothes and it would not disrupt their educations. If there was fair rules for all genders, then school would be safe and encouraging, and the students would be able to focus better in school as they would not have to worry about accidentally breaking any rules. Now, how could students bring about change in their schools and possibly bring about revising their own school dress code? Students should be aware of what rights that they have in school, such as their First Amendment rights. The students should assert a claim of the rights that they have in a respectful manner. And maybe if they are apprehended over it and they feel like it's not fair, then maybe they could address these issues to the schools. By doing research and presenting this information in a respectful manner to school authorities, then maybe they could come to a compromise and a better understanding of student-teacher interrelations when it comes to things such as that. By being understanding of the teacher's point of view, maybe the students could realize why the teachers feel like the dress code could be like that. Regardless, using logic and dealing with the situation in a respectful manner could be a great way to bring about change. Thank you.